Hi there, friend. Welcome. Welcome to Homekeepers. Come right on in. Hope you're having a wonderful day today. The scripture says, this is the day that the Lord has made. No matter what's going on in your day, He made it, and He will see you through. It's going to be a wonderful program today, but if you're brand new, thank you for tuning in. Stay with us, please. And also for you regular viewers, I can't tell you how wonderful it is to be hearing from California and Washington, D.C. and Washington State. And we're in Florida, and just to know that through the medium of television, we're all coming together for a wonderful purpose, and that's to know more about the Lord and to hear good testimonies and just a plethora of wonderful information that the Lord helps us to give to you. And today's no exception. I'm very thankful to welcome to the show Pastor Matt Fry from Clayton, North Carolina, pastor of a large church there. And he has written the book called I Am, and it is forwarded by Christine Kane. A lot of you know who Christine is, and that grabbed my attention right away because this gal is really something else. And she had a lot of good things to say about this book. And I've got to be honest, when I got into it, I was so pleasantly surprised with the way it's laid out. It's very conversational. And I'm telling you, in this world that puts you down all the time, there's so many things throughout the day that just do this to you. Here's a book that will lift you up. So I'm anxious for you to meet Pastor Fry. And I'm going to join Stephanie for a South Carolina cobbler. It's a peach cobbler. But let me warn you, I'm having more and more peach cobbler recipes come to my desk, and if there's anyone out there that doesn't like peach cobbler, I feel you need counseling. So we might be doing several types of peach cobbler throughout the year, and this is going to be a good one. I'm smelling it, and it's out of the oven right now. Before I join Stephanie, though, I again want to offer you what we call Stephanie's heart necklace. If you'll notice, it has that, I think it's just a sweet pink cancer awareness ribbon to it. And I called it Stephanie's heart necklace because Stephanie is she's a survivor of breast cancer, and we are so very thankful for that. For that gift of $25, you can call the 800 number, 1-800-229-0059, or our address, Box 6922, Clearwater, Florida, 33758. And here is Stephanie.
Yes.
How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
Do you know anybody that doesn't like peach cobbler?
I do not.
Yeah, like I say, I think they need counseling or something.
I concur.
And I hope you like this one because
I think I'm going to love it.
We did a recipe recently that she didn't like, and I really appreciate that we can be totally honest about this kind of thing. So.
Okay, so I have peaches, sugar, and I smell that almond extract.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And then we have some melted butter. This is such a super simple recipe. I love that. We're going to pour melted butter just in the bottom of this pan. I'm going to mix together peach, sugar, and almond extract. You're going to mix together flour, sugar, salt, baking soda, and milk. Okay? Okay. So we're just going to mix these up all together. And this is just like a layering recipe. You don't even have to mix it. Once you put it in the pan, you don't even have to mix it all up.
You're a whole lot younger than I am, but it seems to me that recipes nowadays are so innovative.
Oh, yeah.
Who would have thought of, okay, you do this, and then you throw the Bisquick on top of it,
yes,
and you end up with a pretty nice cobbler.
Yeah.
Of any type.
Yep.
I think I need a different kind of...
Got it?
Oh, no, I was looking for a wooden one.
Oh, I'll trade you.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Yeah, because with this milk and all.
So I just had peaches, sugar, and almond extract. This is butter that's melted. We're just going to pour this in the bottom of the pan.
Well, this is the good old summertime. Do you take like a family vacation? And
well, not this year. This year, doctor bills are being paid off.
Yeah. Well,
I'm thankful I had insurance because the doctor bills could be much worse.
Yeah. Well, I'm single, and that presents problems when you vacation.
Yeah.
Because
can I mix while you talk?
Yeah, but
okay,
forget
thanks.
that I said this.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of women you don't want to spend 2 weeks with.
Yeah. There's a lot of just people in general you don't want to spend 2 weeks with.
So, and I got a couple sisters. We could do something.
That's like,
but
you know,
it is a problem.
I love everyone I work with. I do. But they were talking about all going on a cruise together. And I was like, yeah, no, thank you.
You don't want to go cruise with me?
Maybe you.
Yeah, just the two. Maybe we could go.
Oh my gosh, that would be hysterical.
Oh,
and we
would
could
have
tape it. No.
Yeah.
Okay, so melted butter.
Uh-huh.
This is everything you mixed up
Oh,
in
you
all.
put that on the
you
bottom?
Just,
and
yep. you just-
apparently rises right up.
Yep.
Right up.
We're in the bottom. Let me get my little handy dandy scraper thing here.
And I've got a finished one that is absolutely beautiful.
And then I'm just going to pour the peach and sugar almond extract right over the top of that.
You know
And
what we
then you
tell our
bake it.
guests here, that if they do a good job, we give them something to eat.
Yes.
We've never, ever not given them something to eat because we have
They've
such good
always
guests.
do, yeah, they always do well. There you go. Look how easy. That was super simple.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was actually 4 cups of peaches, but
Do you know what? I wonder if you just dump Bisquick in there.
well, and that was my other thought. Yeah. Let me get you a little,
Yeah. And then ice cream, of course.
just a little yumminess on top.
Yeah. All right, grab your fork there, sister.
Okay. It's good. I mean, you know it's good.
You
We
don't
don't
even
even
have
have
to
to try
taste
it.
It's absolutely wonderful.
And when
my
peaches
mom
come
made
into season,
wonderful cobbler.
yeah. These were not fresh peaches, but when peaches
They
come
were
in,
frozen. I'd rather have the fresh, but I don't like canned. So if you got to have something in the middle, frozen ones. are
frozen,
best.
that is delicious. That's so good.
We agree on that one. Sometimes she doesn't like them. Sometimes I do. Sometimes we don't. Neither of us like them. Most of the time we like them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
98%.
Yeah. Now, if you want this recipe, it's absolutely free. Email's the best. We'll email it right back. But if you can't do that, send me an envelope with your name and a stamp and your address, of course, and we'll get it out to you. All right. That information is coming up on your screen. Stay with me, and I will introduce to you Pastor Fry.
If you would like a copy of today's recipe, you may send your email request to arthelene@rippy.org, or you may write to us at the address on your screen, and in doing so, please include a self-addressed stamped envelope. We thank you for being a part of our Homekeepers family.
Well, I'm very happy to introduce to you Pastor Matt Fry from Clayton, North Carolina, and the pastor of the C3 church there. And you got to tell me what C3 means.
Right.
We used to name our churches Calvary and
Yeah.
Full Gospel and this, and now there's
Yeah.
all kinds of names.
It's kind of a long story actually, but our name was a location named Cleveland Community Church, unincorporated. Created some confusion. People didn't know where we were because we're out in an old tobacco farm outside of Raleigh.
So the local people knew.
The local
Yeah.
people knew, right? But even people moving into our area, they didn't realize, where Cleveland was. So we changed the name. In fact, the people actually changed the name. They just started dropping it and just calling it C3. And I thought, well, everybody calls us C3 already anyways. So now we say connecting communities to Christ. So.
And that works. That works. You grew up in a Christian home and,
Right.
and all that. So did you always know you'd go in the ministry?
That's a great question. I feel like that when I was a teenager, I can still remember, the old school altar calls and going up to the front of my Baptist church and praying, saying, God, I'll do whatever, I'll go wherever. And I felt like there was maybe a calling on my life at that time. But I spent years kind of running from God, kind of doing it my way, not God's way. And I share in the book actually about how it wasn't until I got into college that I fully surrendered my life to Him and haven't looked back since. So.
Yeah, when you're raised in a church and you have what I call church life.
Right.
You don't just go on Sunday morning. But,
Right.
And you see these missionaries that come and all. And I think that's fertile ground for God to drop these little messages in your life.
Absolutely. Lots of seeds were planted. Had great parents that grew me up. I grew up in a great Christian home, so I had a strong foundation, and just
And you married a good girl? Christian girl?
amazing woman.
Christian college she went to? And all
Yeah,
that.
we both grew up in a similar type Baptist denomination, and so yeah, I'm very blessed.
Yeah, that's a really good combination. It's not that dramatic testimony, which I love, and I love, but what about the person who meets the Lord and stays true all the way there? You know,
That's the most powerful, actually.
something. Yeah, it really is. All right. I am encounter the one who gives you purpose and peace in a crazy world. How would you describe your book?
I think it's a book that would be helpful for anyone who is from someone who's seeking for the truth, maybe a skeptic, to someone who just wants to dive deeper into the Word and really understand how God has made us. Came out of my life journey of really trying to find my identity in what I did, even as a pastor. I can remember I was like Matt Fry the blank, and it wasn't until God really broke me and I realized who I really am, and that my identity doesn't come from the world, doesn't come from labels that have been put on me, doesn't come from a title, doesn't come from the devil for sure, but God tells me who I am. And so the idea of the book and the revelation that God gave to me is that when I encounter the great I am, that's when I discover who I am.
That's a great way to put that. It's very, very, makes you understand the connection, because I think that is a huge, huge problem today with all Americans and certainly Christians, and that's too bad.
Yeah.
The Christians, I think if they ever got this point,
Yeah.
watch out world,
Absolutely.
watch out devil, we're going to. Now, you have some real personal testimonies in this book, and one I looked at, and I felt a certain devastation from you in writing it, was you lost a job.
Right.
Boy, a lot of people can relate to that, and it's a very emotional and a lot of times degrading
Right.
thing.
Yeah. Well, my identity was so tied into what I did. And so I was a youth pastor at a well-known church in the city that I was serving in. And there was a parting of the ways, and so I ended up in between jobs. I didn't have a church to go to, and I'd gone from church to church, so I'd always been like Matt Fry, the youth pastor. So I got a part-time job during the week that was flexible. I started working as a custodian, and then on the weekends I would travel and speak at churches and do youth camps and revivals or whatever they wanted me to do. And so one of the places I cleaned was a police station, and this was the defining moment. Is I was cleaning this police station. Of course, because of security, they have to have staff there, because you can't just go into a police station without supervision. And so I'm cleaning the office, and usually when I'm cleaning a facility, there's nobody there, so it's real quiet, and nobody sees me doing that. Today was different. So there was a policeman there. He pulled away from his desk. I said, "Excuse me, sir, can I get that trash can for you?" He said, "Sure." And he pulled back and he said, "Wait a second, don't I know you?" He said, "Aren't you the youth pastor at the church down the street?" And I said, "Well, I used to be, but not anymore." And so I kind of changed the subject and emptied it. And it was so, for me at that moment, just so humiliating and so humbling. But it was through that God got a hold of my attention, because I had no idea that my identity was so tied into being a youth pastor. And then I look back on my journey and my whole life, even before I surrendered to Christ, my identity was always tied in to what I did or words that had been spoken over me, and often negative words, and I carried those labels throughout life. And so that was a defining moment in my life.
Yeah, I think, could you have found a better job?
Yeah. Well,
from the youth pastor, you probably had a sizable youth group and all that, and everybody know who, youth pastor Matt Fry was.
Yeah.
And your custodian.
Yeah.
Did you look for anything besides that, or did that just seem to fit the schedule?
It was in that season where I was considering a career change.
Yeah.
And so when you have 10 years of experience and you have seminary and education, and your resume has, church and ministry all on it, then what are you going to do? And so I actually got hired. It's kind of a funny story. I got hired. I got asked to be interviewed by FedEx. And so I was like, well, maybe that was
that would be a step up, maybe.
Career path, and it paid well and lots of room for advancement. And so so now that every time I see a FedEx truck, it reminds me of my journey and how God has been so faithful.
Well, you know what I've got to say, that you did have these degrees and all, and you humbled yourself. I know, we've got these group called the millennials, that need Play-Doh because the election didn't go the way they wanted. And nobody's too good to be a custodian. Nobody's too good to flip burgers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of the best things I could have done. And I worked for this company, and they said, you can travel. Just let us know if you can't work. So there was lots of flexibility in it.
Yeah.
And I just had to provide for my family. And I was like, if I have to clean
so
toilets.
That's what you do. Sure.
Provide for my family. I had 2 little girls at home and a wife. And I whatever it takes. So, I worked a couple of jobs, and God provided, and He was faithful. And out of that came the principles in the I Am book.
I think just that little caveat right there is kind of a lesson, but God takes that lesson and He puts it on a giant screen that probably was a major, major turning point for you.
Absolutely.
Okay, where did we go from the custodian?
So then of course, I became a senior pastor several years later, started a church in North Carolina, and that was exciting. We met in a school, and we grew rapidly. At a 3-year-old church, we bought our first piece of property and built a building, and I mean, it was like, it's a 3.5-year-old church. That's quite, looking back now, I'm like, wow, that's pretty phenomenal that God would do that. And we call it a miracle on a tobacco field. And so as I was serving, I share the story in the book about how I came through a very discouraging time, and I wanted to quit. I wanted to give up because I didn't realize being a senior pastor was so difficult. And some people, I didn't realize, I thought everybody would say nice things about you all the time. And then I realized, no,
you should have called me.
not everybody's going to like you forever. I was like, this being a senior pastor is too hard. I want to go back to being a youth pastor.
Or maybe a custodian.
Custodian, exactly. Where's that FedEx truck?
Yeah, right.
And so I share in the book about how I met another pastor. He encouraged me, gave me the faith to stay in there. And through that, I've discovered that one of the chapters in the book is we talk about who can you trust, because nobody knows who they can trust today.
Right, especially in the ministry. Yeah.
Absolutely. Who can you trust? Because you trust somebody, and then they're going to stab you in the back, or they're going to hurt you. But that's why Jesus declares, I am the good shepherd. And so we can put our trust in Him. People might fail us. People might disappoint us. And I'm sure I've disappointed people, right? I've hurt people because hurting people hurt people. But we have a Heavenly Father, and we have a Savior, and He says, I am the good shepherd, and I will guide you through the valley, and I will help you.
Oh, if we could just internalize that. If you just joined me, I'm talking to Pastor Matt Fry, the brand new book, I Am. The information's on the screen. The website is there. I highly, highly recommend this book to you. Just my reading it, it was really a blessing to me. And I'll tell you where, somewhere. Maybe I'll get back to the rest of the interview in a minute, but I'll tell you what grabbed me is the messages we tell ourselves. And you have in here, I'm stupid, I'm slow, I'm ugly, I'm no good, I'm an idiot, I'm worn out. I just, probably everybody listening right now, including me, we've all said those things to ourselves.
Right.
And why did that dawn on you enough to put it in the book?
Well, often we have words that are spoken over us. And throughout my life, I had words that were spoken over me, sometimes negative words. And they become labels, because if we receive those negative words, then they can become labels, and we carry them all throughout adulthood. But the devil wants to declare over you who you are. So we have a decision. Are we going to receive the negativity and the labels? Maybe a former parent, a teacher, a coach, maybe an ex-spouse or an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend said horrible things to us. And we hear those words over and over. And even now, you know, people can say things to me, and all of a sudden I feel that label about to come on me, and I'm like, no, I'm going to take that thought captive.
Get it out of here.
And I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am more than a conqueror. I am full and complete, lacking nothing. And I start declaring the promises of God, because when I declare the promises of God and who God says I am, then God gets really big. But if I focus on these negative labels and I'm not good enough and I'm stupid and I'm average and, you know, I can't do anything right, or I don't care about you, and if I take those labels, then it just drags me down.
Yeah.
And the devil's like, I got you now.
Yeah, when the Bible says I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, I want to address the parents, moms, and grandmothers. So many times we perpetuate the way we were raised, and maybe your mother called you stupid, and maybe you've called your kids stupid. Let me encourage you to apologize to those people before the sun goes down tonight. And Grandma, if you're 85 years old and you called your now, you know, somebody in their 60s child stupid, what a blessing it would be if you would say, you know, I was wrong about that and I apologize. I think when it comes from a parent, it's just like a knife.
Oh, yeah. And anybody that we look up to, I had a coach one time. I started wrestling when I was a kid, and I had a coach in high school that looked at me, and it was after I lost a big match in the state tournament, and he said, you quit, you gave up. And I felt this label come on me that I'm a quitter.
The quitter, yeah.
Even though I had an extremely successful season, went all the way to the state tournament as a 14-year-old, and but he—
That's the one that stuck.
Yeah, he put his finger in my face and said, you could have won that much, you quit, you gave up. And it sounds weird, right? It sounds kind of silly now talking about it, but it was a for real label. And I kind of felt like, well, maybe I am a quitter. Maybe I do give up. And it messed me up until I took those labels off and put on the labels of who God says I am.
Yeah, and you know, I think you got to be careful too that you take yourself so seriously.
Yeah.
You know, I'll never forget, my grandson got 3 MVP awards when he graduated from high school. Great athlete.
Yeah.
But I remember when he was about that tall and playing t-ball or whatever, at the end of the session, they line them all up and give him a trophy. And I said to my daughter, what's that for? I'm not sure they'd won any games even. But
Yeah.
so we're dealing now, especially you and I, we probably got kicked around a little bit, got over.
Right.
But we're raising a whole culture now that take themselves so seriously, and don't you dare say anything that's negative about me.
Yeah, but you have to go to what does God say, right? So we have to teach our children how to lose well. Like, life is filled with ups and downs, but our God is faithful. People are going to hurt you. Do the best you can with wisdom to put the right friends around you, but you may do everything just great, but people may still hurt you.
Yeah, and no matter who you are, there are still winners and losers in life.
Yeah.
And that's the way life operates. These things we were talking about, they're like tapes, you know.
Yeah.
You're stupid or you quit, you know. I do believe it's possible to overcome those. You might not have a permanent amnesia over it, but I think you have to work at it. When it comes up, say, nope, I'm not taking that, devil, get out of here.
Every day, I shared this 31 I am declarations at the end of the book.
And that's in this book called I Am, and the website's on the screen. I'm sure this is on Amazon and all those places that are easy to obtain.
And there's one for every day of the month, so you can take one every day. And honestly, I declare God's promises every day.
Yeah.
It's not just like you just declare it for 1 month and then you're done.
Yeah.
But every day, and then throughout the day, if I hear a label, I hear something that's negative, I'll just, I won't receive it. I'll put on declare the new declaration of who Jesus says I am.
It can become a way of life. And I like that about that. You've got the I Am declarations. And I know one that this doesn't have anything to do with I Am, but the one I need to declare every day is, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight. Yeah. I think we have to go over and over those things, and they become a part of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because our identity comes from God. So when we understand what He loves us unconditionally. And so what it does is it brings a sense of security, the sense of confidence, a God confidence, that I can get through this. Even though, the world's going to throw things at me, the devil's going to try to, mess with me, but I can get through this. I have the great I am.
Yeah, I've got to commend you on this book because it surprised me.
Thank you.
We've heard the term I am,
Sure.
and God uses it, we can use it, but it was a very pleasant surprise, very, very readable, and I think very encouraging. And do we ever get too many encouraging words?
No.
I'm not sure that we do. One of your questions in one of the chapters was, do you know what you're looking for? Do you think that's an obstacle for a lot of people?
Oh yeah, especially, I think people of all walks of life, especially younger teenagers, college students, they're just looking for where to go. I have 3 children from 18 to 22, and trying to help guide them through decision making and what career path to go through, and trying to help them understand that God will guide you. And one of the principles in the book, in the I Am book, is Jesus declares, I am the door. So he's right there at the door, and he will show you. Here's what I share in the book, that often there are opportunities that come along that are good. You're going to get a lot of good opportunities. I tell my kids, you're going to probably get 2 or 3 good opportunities for your future. But you have to ask, is this a good opportunity or is it a God opportunity?
Yeah.
Because if you do everything that you think is a good opportunity, you're going to be all over the place. You're not going to have any direction in life. But because he declares, I am the door, now he will give us the wisdom to know, hey, let me pull back and pause. I might need to pray, take some time to think through this. God, is this a God opportunity or is this just another good opportunity?
Well, that's excellent. I wish to God every father in America, could guide their children that way. Talking about identity, I remember, after my husband was gone and I was single, and I remember opening a checking account and sitting there crying. I didn't know what name to put on it.
Wow.
Because I'd always been Mrs. Dawn Rippy, that's why I signed it.
Yeah.
And all that. And there's so much wrapped up in all of these things that define us, and then suddenly, when they're just placed right in front of us, we have to work through it.
Well, Christine Kane, as you mentioned, wrote the foreword.
What a life.
And wow, it's worth buying the book just to read her foreword.
You got that, yeah, that's very true.
And she says I was unnamed, unwanted, of course.
She was left in the hospital.
Left in the hospital.
Parents left. They didn't know who the parents were or anything.
Yeah.
And look what God's done with her.
Amazing.
And she has utilized the word. We are out of time, but let me remind you again, I can't recommend this highly enough. And it's the title of it, just I Am, and you can get it off of the website. You can get it, and it's from Pastor Matt Fry. And it's, I felt that it was a conversational tone, really, which is really the best kind of reading. But the truth of this, and who you are not, and who you really are, it's worth it if you'll get this and read it. Sorry we're out of time, but join me next time, friends, remembering there's no higher calling than that of a homekeeper. God bless you.
If you should miss a Homekeepers program, you can catch up by going to www.ctnonline.com. Click on CTN Programs and then on Homekeepers.